Hello everyone, this is Swati Shastri taking a session on computer networks and security. So before seeing what are we going to learn today, let us have just a recap of what did we learn in the previous classes. So in the previous class, we have actually seen uh, or we have introduced ourselves to a new layer, and that's called as network layer. And we have seen certain services what a transport layer or and a network layer together can be provided. Okay, so we have seen a small relationship between transport layer and network layers. We have also studied something about transport layer. So, what are the kinds of protocols available in that? How do they work? What actually transport layer does? So, these are the contents that we had covered in the transport layer. So, if you remember, in your transport layer, we actually had an example of Alice and Bob. So, Alice was the person who was collecting all the letters from her home and handing it over to the post. So we made a relationship that Alice's work is done by transport layer and the postman's job is done by the network layer. We have also concluded that postman might be quite unreliable. You cannot depend on him. He may come, he may not come. Maybe instead of coming today, he may come tomorrow. So we have seen those things in the previous classes. So to continue from there, we will more concentrate on what Alice is going to do or what Bob is going to do rather than what Postman will do. Okay, so what Postman will do, we'll be covering it in the next coming classes. Rather, now we'll see about what Alice or Bob is going to do. Okay, so Alice being in the transport layer and also Bob being in the transport layer, they can perform something called as multiplexing and demultiplexing. So this is the contents that we are going to learn today. So we are about to study something about multiplexing as well as demultiplexing. How to mux it, how to demux it. So the let us start with that so that you can understand things. So this is going to match Bloom's taxonomy level to be 2 for your understanding, because you have to understand the contents that are present. Okay, so let us start with what is multiplexing and demultiplexing. When you are studying the contents with respect to uh, what your textbook, this is the second topic of your third chapter, so please concentrate on that. So we are going to cover the whole topic today. Okay, so when you consider multiplexing and demultiplexing, you can see the diagram over here. You have processes running on different machines. So you have P1 running on one machine, P2 on one machine. So P1, P2, P3, you have P4, and all these four are processes. You can see it here. And there is a socket over here. So everywhere you have a socket, correct? So what you have is P3 might send some information to P1. You can see this particular link. Meantime, maybe P1 also can send some information to P3. Similarly, P2 is sending information to P4, and at the same time, P4 is sending certain information to P3. So there is an intercommunication between P1 and P2, sorry, P1 and P3 and P2 and P4, right, under different machines. So you can see here, this is a one machine, this is one more machine, this is the third machine present, right? So here we have something called as multiplexing and demultiplexing, which are playing a role. Now, what is the meaning of multiplexing is when you're sending from one place, you're trying to multiplex. When you're receiving at the opposite end, we are calling it as demultiplex. You can see here. See, P1 is trying to send some information to P3 and P2 is trying to send some information to P4. So P1 is forwarding its data. So that process, so every application is a process and the process is actually going to send you data. This is our concept, right? So P1 being a process is trying to forward some data. So when it is forwarding some data, it is passing it through the socket and it is heading it to the transport layer. The transport layer will add its own header, and it will be pushing it towards the receiving end. So what kind of a header is added? This is a header which is added for the sake of, or wherein you can utilize it for demultiplexing. So what is demultiplexing? Whenever there is a machine and it is receiving something from the opposite end, that time we perform demultiplexing. So what is the work of demultiplexing? Transport layer. Now what happens is, P4 is trying to send some information to P2. So this information sent from P4 to P2 will pass through your physical layer, data link layer, network layer, and then come to the transport layer. But there is a difference when it has to come to application layer. It should not go to P1. Instead, it should go to P2 because it is coming from P4. P4 is interested in sending the data to P2, not P1, right? So transport layer have to now decide whether this data that has come from P4 has to move to P1 or whether it has to move to P2. So this kind of discussion or decisions that are being taken by the transport layer, and it divides it and sends it to the specific application using that particular information in the header, this is called as demultiplexing. So whenever I consider multiplexing, multiplexing is always done on the transport layer at the sender machine. Demultiplexing is always done on receiver machine. Okay, so multiplexing, when you are sending any information to someone, so from your process through the socket, you will give it to the transport layer. Transport layer will put some header information saying that whom it should be sent, which process it should be sent. All those informations will be added by the transport layer, and it will be forwarded. Forwarded to whom? Network layer. Network layer will give to data link layer. Data link layer will give to physical layer, and physical layer will finally go and reach the respective receiver. Now what receiver is going to do? Receiver will receive it at the first physical layer, then it will send it to data link layer. From data link layer it will come to network layer, and finally it will reach transport layer. Now transport layer has to decide to which particular process it has to give. Now if it has to give it to the specific process, it has to pass through that particular socket. You can see that every process is having its own socket. Okay, so it has to put it through that particular socket. Now transport layer, based on the header, will send it to the specific process, and that particular process will be, or that process to whom you had to send will be identified. Okay, so multiplexing is occurring at sender and demultiplexing is occurring at a receiver end. Now the question is, like, you can also think of one thing, like P3 wants to send information to P1, P1 will give it to P2, and P2 will send it to P4. Then what? Okay, so what you are doing, P3 multiplexes it, it sends it to P1. That time P1, at P1 level it is being demultiplexed. P1 will provide information to P2 because they both are in a same application layer, and P2 will forward, or P2 will ask your transport layer to multiplex it, and then it will send it to P4, where the transport layer will again demultiplex it and provide it to the P4. Okay, so your demultiplexing of data which is coming from P3, and you are always trying to multiplex the data which is coming from P2 and it is going to P4. So this is how your multiplexing and demultiplexing works. Now our question is that whether this demultiplexing and multiplexing, whatever you can call, either on the multiplexing side or on the demultiplexing side, how is it actually going to work? It is actually going to work with one specific thing, and that is called as your header. So in the first thing itself, we learned that whenever multiplexing is occurring, we are trying to add a transport header. Okay, So your transport layer is going to add a particular header. So this everything is decided by this particular header. Now how is this being decided by the header? What is there in that header contents, that is what we'll learn. So that thing is called as a header format. Okay. So we are going to learn the segment format. So segment is the word for the same message, like whatever messages you are sending, that messages are being divided into segments. So every segment is added with the header, not the whole message. Okay, the complete message is not provided with the header. Only a small part of segment is being given with the header. So what contents are there in the header? So first contents in the header is, you should always have something called as port numbers. Okay, so there can be two kinds of port numbers. So whenever you consider any host which is receiving all these datagrams or segments that you call, or packets that you call, so they are called with different names at different point of time. That's all. So they are all basically the same. Datagram, segment, packet, they are all basically the same, but depending on what kind of protocol you use that particular terminologies. Okay, so whichever datagram or segment you are using, each datagram will be having its own source IP address as well as destination IP address. This is first thing. So if I want to send some information to the person sitting next to me, so I should be knowing the IP address of that particular machine. That is what is mandatory part for me, correct? So my IP address will act like source IP address. The person next to me, his IP address will act as destination IP address. So each segment is always going to carry certain transport layer segment in that. So along with this IP address, you have something which is extra, and that extra thing is called as source port number and a destination port number. So source port number is the port number of the machine from whom I am sending, okay, who is the sender. So that is a port number, and destination port number is the number which is being received by someone else. It is something like over here. Now if P3 is trying to send information to P1, P3 will become source port number, that is P3, that is the ID of the process, will become the source port number, and the receiving part is P1. So P1's ID will be considered as destination port number. Okay. So you can have some other header fields also, like depending on whether you are using UDP or whether you are using TCP. Based on that, your header fields will change. And along with that, you have something called as application data, or that is called as payload. Whatever the segment, whatever the message that you are sending, that thing will be there. Okay. So we'll concentrate more on these port numbers. What are they? So hosts usually to identify someone or some specific process running on a specific machine. So if you want to identify a machine, you have only one kind of an identifier, and that is called as IP address. Okay, it is something like your home. Okay, so if you have an XYZ home, you will call that home with the plot number, correct? That home is identified by the plot number. That home's plot number is called as IP address. The person living inside the home is identified by his Aadhaar number, right, in India. So when you have that Aadhaar number for that person, that Aadhaar number is actually acting for that person's personal address. It is completely unique address, right? So that is called as a port number. Now in a single home, if I have multiple people living in, like uh, there is a person called as A, B and C. Okay, so if there are three people, all the three people will be having different Aadhaar cards, right? And they have different Aadhaar card number as well. So similarly, on the same IP address, that is on the same machine, there may be multiple processes. So one machine will have only one IP address, but those different processes will be of different port number. Okay, so by that particular IP address and port number, using both the things, we identify a process and a host. Okay, When we concentrate on this port number is usually 16-bit long. So every port number, you can see here, this is completely 32-bit long. So if it is divided into equal to halves, then one will be of 16-bit and other will be of 16-bit. So because it is 16-bit long, so it can range from 0 to 65,535. But out of this, from 0 to 65,535, 0 to 1023 are reserved. It is reserved for some specific servers. Like if I consider like an HTTP server, it is always working on 80. If I consider a DNS server, it is always working on 53. So such kind of port numbers are usually reserved. So my port number and destination port number are very much important. Now when I'm creating an application, so I should be very careful and I should decide some things. So whenever I am designing an application, for example, I design an application saying that I want to send a message from host A to host B. So when I am designing that, host A must decide its own process number, that is called as port number for specific process. Okay, if I'm using HTTP or I may be using something else, something XYZ, so that XYZ will be having its own process ID, and on the B side also you should decide to have certain process ID. Based on those process IDs or port numbers, process ID is almost equal to a port number. So using those two port numbers, you can exchange a message. Now we'll see that in with a small example how actually a demultiplexing is working. Okay, so when you consider each socket in the host, it could be assigned a port number. You can see this in the example. You have P1. P1 is having its own socket. Every process will be having their socket. Okay, so P1 is having its own socket. So P1 is going to have the port number. P2 is also having its own socket, and P2 will be having a port number. So similarly, on similar grounds, P4 also will be is having a socket, and it also will be having a port number. Right now we are not bothering about that. Okay, so what transport layer does, transport layer decides whether the incoming packet from the network layer, whichever packet comes in, it will decide that is the transport layer will decide whether it has to give to P1 or P2. Based on what? Based on the number attached to that particular message. Okay, so this socket is named as 6000 and this socket is named as 7000. So whichever message comes in, based on that particular part, either P2 will be receiving it or P1 will be receiving it. On the similar grounds, this is happening in every machine. So the only thing that you have to concentrate on is if a machine is receiving it from two different people, that's all. Okay, so when a segment arrives at the host, the transport layer examines the destination port. The transport layer examines the destination port number in the segment. Okay, what is transport layer doing? It is examining the destination port number in the segment, and then what it does, it directs that particular segment to the corresponding socket. To that particular socket, it will direct that segment. It will ask that segment to go in that particular direction. It will ask that segment to go to that particular process. Okay, next what it has to do, it has to perform segments data, then passes through the socket into the attached process. We'll see that with an example. Now what is happening, see here, P4. Now what has happened, P4 has sent a message, or you can call it as segment, which is having a port number as 7000. So what has happened, it has reached your transport layer. Now what transport layer will do? Transport layer, it has to decide to which socket it has to send based on what? Based on the port number. So what is the message port number? Message port number is 7000. So to whom it is matching? It is matching to P2 process, correct? So what it will do? It will send it to the P2 process. So P4 process has sent some information which is moved on to P2 process. On what basis you are doing that? Because there is a added header. From where did you get this added header? This is how the added header is. It is having its own source port number and destination port number, correct? So based on that source port number and destination port number, what you're doing? You're going to send it to that particular specific location. So this is how a demultiplexing is being done. Okay. So multiplexing is quite very easy. What is the work of multiplexing? It is just going to add a transport layer segment header. What is that header having? The header is having source port number and the destination port number and all the other things related to the protocol that you are using. Okay. Now what all the protocols can be used in the transport layer? Transport layer can use only mainly two kinds of protocols, that is TCP as well as UDP, correct? So what do you call UDP as? UDP is always connectionless kind of a protocol, right? Now how should I multiplex or demultiplex when you consider a connectionless kind of a thing? So it means that I'm trying to use UDP. If I'm trying to use UDP or if I'm using UDP, what should I do for multiplexing? What all issues can be faced by multiplexing? Now when do you have, or when you agree that you're on a connectionless network, the point is that your socket must be of type DGRAM socket. Now what you're doing, your socket you have opened on a number and this number is nothing but your port number. I can call it as PN. PN is nothing but port number. So we had already studied that when creating the datagram to send into the UDP socket, it must specify certain IP address as well as the port number. So what should be the contents that should be present in your connectionless? So connectionless, if you are using, so whenever you are using connectionless kind of a service, the message or the segment must be attached with the destination port number only and destinations port number and source port number only. I need not bother about other things because UDP itself carries destination IP address as well as source IP address because it is connectionless. So when the host receives UDP segment, it checks whether the destination port number is present in the segment and it will direct that particular UDP segment to that specific socket if that port number is present. If the datagrams with the same port number but with the different source IP address are there, then what? Okay, you have two different IP addresses, okay, and you have the same destination port number and you have the same destination port number but with different IP addresses, means they are coming from two different machines but they are coming to a single process, then or either IP address or different source port numbers, then it will be directed to the same socket because it is UDP. That is the behavior of your UDP. What is the behavior of your UDP is that if I have one application running over here to this particular P1 itself, if P3 is also sending some information and P4 is also sending some information, both are dealt on the same socket. No two different sockets are being created for that. Okay, we'll see that with an example. Consider that P3 is a socket which is a datagram socket specific, that is UDP. So that socket is having a port number as 9157. Okay, and P4 you have, which is that is also UDP because we are using connectionless. If it's connectionless, it should be definitely UDP. Okay, so that is having a port number as 5775. Okay, you have one more third socket preferring P1 which is having the number to be 6428. Okay, now what P1 also wants to send some information, sorry, P3 wants to send some information to P1 and P4 wants to send some information to P3. Now what P3 will do, P3 will send a message wherein the source port number for P1 will be like from, it is coming to from P3, right? So source port number is 9157 which is of P3, correct? Like, and it is going to a specific destination address which is having a port number to be 6428, that is destination. From where you are picking destination, P1 is the destination. Now if P1 wants to respond you back, then what you are doing to do? So P1, when it is responding back, source port number is from P1 it is coming, right? So source will be 6428. To whom it is reaching? It is reaching to P3. So when it is reaching to P3, P3's port number I should use. That will be the destination port number, and that's called as 9157. Now what will be of this communication? Like if P1 is sending some information to P4, so if P1 is sending, the source port number will be P1's port number, which will be 6428, and destination will be 5775, correct? So port number will be 6428, rather destination port number will be 5775. Now if it's a reverse case, if P4 is sending some information to P1, P4's source port number is 5775. So source port number will be 5775 and destination port number will be 6482. So this is how it is going to interchange. Now two machines. Now P3 was also sending its information to, you know, the destination, the destination port number was 6428, and when P4 was sending, even for this it is 6428, correct? Now what is happening? Destination port number is same, okay, but source port number is different. So if source port number is different, then IP address of the both the machines are also different, might be different, okay, necessarily not like compulsorily different, they might be different. So even though it is coming from two separate port numbers, or if it is coming from two separate IP address, even then the application layer at this particular one, that is the who is the receiver whose destination port number is same, it will be handling the connection, multiple connections on a single socket. It works on single socket, okay. So this is the condition of connectionless kind of a service. This happens only in connectionless kind of a service. What to do for connection oriented kind of a service? You studied about UDP, what UDP is behaving. UDP is behaving the way like it has only source port number and destination port number, it is satisfied. But whether the same thing happens in connection oriented, that is called as TCP protocol, no, it doesn't happen. What is happening? It is using four tuples. Why? Because it is connection oriented, it is very specific to whom it has to give, where it has to go, all those things, right? So what it is doing, it is sending source IP address, source port number, destination IP address, as well as destination port number. So where are these things added? In the TCP header file. We studied, right, when you are multiplexing, when you are trying to send some information from sender to the receiver, when it is going from sender to the receiver, sender is trying to multiplex it. So when he is multiplexing, he is adding a header. So when he adds an header, the header will be comprised of these four things. Okay, so at the demuxing level, what should happen? The receiver uses all these four values to direct it to the segment, to an appropriate socket, to a fixed socket. To send that, it will make use of all the four contents. Why we used to use these four tuples, that also we'll study. Okay, now consider that server host may support many simultaneous TCP sockets. We want to know why four things, right? See, when you consider TCP, TCP is a connection oriented thing. When connection is already present, why should I make use of IP address? This is a question that always you can rake, correct? So the answer for that is because TCP sockets can handle simultaneous connections, like two or more people can have a connection with the TCP at the same time. So to enable that, you make use of all the four things. Okay, so we'll see an example of web servers and we can understand that. Now web servers also have different sockets for each connecting client. For every client is being connected onto a different socket. Maybe it is working on the same, even then you have connection on different sockets, but it should be a persistent connection, not a non-persistent one. So we'll see one example. Okay, we are especially seeing a web browser example which works on HTTP. Now you can find here, this is an server which makes use of HTTP. So HTTP is always running on port number 80, correct? It is always running on port number 80. That is the thing. So this is a machine which is always having all the applications processor ID to be 80. So P4 is 80, P5 is 80, P6 is also 80 because they are all HTTPs. Okay. Now you can see here P3 is trying to contact P4. So when it is trying to contact P4, IP address is same. P3 on this particular machine, that is on your address C, is also trying to contact that particular machine and it's going for P5. P2 is trying to contact P6. Now you can see three different things on this. Okay, three different scenarios on this is the best word. So port number is 80. Let me write it down so that you will not forget it. That's all. Okay, so port number working is 80. Now consider that P3, you have P3 over here as well as P3 over here, same process names. Okay, so what is the meaning of having same process names? That is, process IDs are same. So when I say process IDs are same, it means that port numbers are same, correct? Like now see here, P3 is communicating with P4. So when it is communicating with P4, consider that P3 is having an ID of, that is ID to be 9157. So P3's ID is 9157. Now when P3 is trying to contact P4, so what I have to send? I have to send source IP address as well as port number because it is a TCP kind of a connection, right? HTTP is always based on TCP. You cannot use UDP under HTTP. Okay, HTTP is an transport layer. It is an application layer protocol. Okay, so now source IP address, what is the source IP address? It is coming from A, correct? So source IP address is A. What is the source port number? It is coming from P3. P3's address is 9157. Okay, P3's address is 9157. Who is the destination? It is going to node B. You can see here the address, server address of this is B. Okay, so I am sending it to B and it is using HTTP. It is an web server. It is an HTTP server. When it is running on HTTP server, all the processes in the application layer of an HTTP server will be compulsorily 80. So destination and port pair is B comma 80. Now what is happening when P is sending information? So it is coming from source port IP address as A with the port number 9157. Destination port is B comma 80. Now consider that on machine C, who is running a process called as P3, which is same as that of machine A. He also sends the information on the same time. Now what is this? P3 is sending some information. Correct? When P3 is sending an information, what is his IP address? His IP address is C because he is coming from a different machine. Okay, his IP address is C. But what is his source port number? Same as that of A, that is P3, that is 9157. What is the destination address? IP address and destination address is same, that is B comma 80. So this transport layer, it is having two packets who have same source port number, same destination IP address, same destination port number. What is different? Only source IP address is different. When source IP address is different, it means that it has to give to the two different sockets. It has to give to the two different sockets. So one it will give for P4, one it will give for P5. So once it is fixed, it always the connection goes on. Always the connection goes on. You need not worry about that. Okay. Now, at the same ground, if I say that, see here, if I consider P2 of this machine and P3 of this machine, when I say that P2 of this machine, their destination IP address and port number, destination IP address, destination port number, they are same. Now, source IP address is also same here. when I consider P2 and P3, source IP address is CC. The only difference is that source port number 5775 and 9157. So this is also one kind of a condition. So if this condition occurs, even then the transport layer at demuxing level, what it will do, it will give it to the two separate sockets. It will not provide it to one single socket. Had it been a UDP kind of a server, UDP would have not made such kind of differences on giving it to the different kinds of sockets. But TCP does this. That is the beauty of TCP. If all are different, like source IP address as well as source port number, both are different, then definitely it will give it to the two different people. Okay. So that is the difference between your connection oriented and connection less. Connection less will give everything to a single socket based on the destination port number. But when you consider connection oriented, that is called as TCP. So that time what it is doing, it is always giving it to different sockets. Why we give it to the different sockets? Because TCP is considered as connection oriented. You should have a fixed connection, you should not give it to someone else. That is the reason that we are using such kind of a technology. So to support such things, TCP will utilize all the things, that is source IP address, source port number, destination IP address, destination port number. All the things will be present in that. Okay, so you can see that destination port number 80 are demultiplexed to different sockets, and you can handle that. The handling of this thing is called as threaded server handling. Okay, so this is how connection oriented demultiplexing occurs. This is how it happens. Okay, so what all did you learn today? You have learned about multiplexing and demultiplexing. What is multiplexing? Whenever you want to send some information from sender to the receiver, sender in the transport layer will add some header regarding transport layer, that is called as port number, that is source port number and destination port number, and it will forward. Putting this and forwarding is called as multiplexing. Taking from a specific socket and sending it to the specific receiver is called as multiplexing. On the receiving side, demultiplexing is done. What happens in demultiplexing? Transport layer picks up a segment from the network layer. It decides to whom it has to provide the packet, to which socket should it forward that particular segment, and it will decide on that basis and it will forward it to the application layer. That is called as demultiplexing. So this is what we have learned today. So, and also we have seen regarding connectionless and connection oriented kind of a service, how do they behave in multiplexing and demultiplexing. Okay, so in next class we'll learn about connectionless, complete part about connectionless, how it works, what should be done, all those things we'll learn. Okay, so for today we'll stop. Thank you.